Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our Talks with Walt, as we are calling our readings to the deathbed edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. We turn now to the little poem, Bravo, Paris Exposition, a celebration of the Paris Exposition of 1889. Now, as we've said before in earlier lectures that we have referenced, Whitman rarely does this when he actually makes some kind of reference to something specifically happening in time, and he will celebrate it, but certainly he does it here. Now, our assumption is that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Talks with Walt, our playlist, and that you've been with us from the very beginning when he played this game a few other times and referenced this specific moment in time. We have given a set of introductory comments to Goodbye My Fancy, this cluster, because this is poem 13 of the 31 of that cluster, Goodbye My Fancy. And we just finished with Long Hence. Now, our Nortons will give us some information here. This was first published in Harper's Weekly, September 28, 1889. And of course, the Paris Exposition, that we're referencing here, was most famous for its exhibit of the Eiffel Tower. It was open from May 6th through November 6th of 1889. He'll begin, of course, with the word bravo in the title, only used one time in all of Leaves of Grass. You'll remember us referencing to Paris a number of different ways. Salut Amant, a couple of different references in this poem back to that poem. Salut Amant number 8, you'll remember I am a real Parisian. You'll remember in France the 18th year. And then here, 10 poems from now, in this cluster, we will have a Parisian lesson. Now, the notion that Whitman can speak for America and Americans, to especially France, and the significant importance of France as it relates to his understanding of world history and American history, will all play into this one. He'll say it this way: add to your show, before you close it, France, with all the rest, visible, concrete, temples, towers, obviously the Eiffel Tower, goods, machines. We think about Whitman's celebration of technology and oars. Our sentiment wafted from many million heart throbs. You'll remember wafted from Song of Myself 39. Again, his use of exaggerated numbers here, million. Heart throbs, ethereal, but solid. Notice the paradox, and to go and see the Eiffel Tower. That's a great representation. It does appear ethereal but solid, doesn't it? And then in parenthetics, we grandsons and great-grandsons do not forget your grandsires, in parenthetic. And this is an interesting idea. In other words, following maybe with the notion of de Tocqueville's Democracy in America, he will pay homage to France as being, in many ways, the genesis of a whole lot that is America. In other words, we owe it to France to remember the important legacy. America is obviously a byproduct in some ways of French intellectualism, French industry, and the like, right? And then he finishes, from 50 nations and nebulous nations, compacted, sent oversea, no, it's not overseas, it's oversea, today, America's applause. And I told you guys, when he uses the word America, it's kind of important because he doesn't do it regularly. Of course, I said that when we began with I Hear America Singing. America's applause, love, memories, and goodwill. Interestingly, goodwill also gets used in Salut Amant, passage 11, you will remember. And if you go back and read Salut Amant again, as context for a poem like this, it makes a lot of sense the way he is celebrating France and, of course, Paris. Now, what are we going to do with 2A with this poem? Well, I think his argument is that it's always important that we continue to remember our cultural antecedents, to pay homage to and respect to them, and in this case, obviously, France. Whitman loves, notice, to speak for America and Americans, and I love his word choice of using bravo, which is only used one time in Leaves of Grass, and it's right here. At 3A, where can we reference this back to? What classical references are happening here? Well, I think one of them is all the way back to the Aeneid. Do you remember in Aeneid 6, we've given lectures on it at learnstrong.net, do you remember in Aeneid 6 how there will be this referencing back in time to look forwards in time to the whole notion of what it is that is the antecedents for Rome. Roman power, it's of course Roman law, that will be Virgil's view of it. And I think that Whitman is in some way playing this game. In other words, we don't want to forget, as Americans, he will argue, that the cultural antecedents are in fact French, and obviously English as well. Finally, at 3B, what are your thoughts about France as being an important part of our cultural antecedents? Are you comfortable with that idea? Are you uncomfortable with that idea? And to what degree, in your own upbringing, in your own education, have you been shown the ways in which France played such an important role in the early thinking of great important thinkers that would influence, I mentioned de Tocqueville, that would influence American thought? Obviously, Voltaire comes to mind. What are your thoughts about that, and to what degree is reading Leaves of Grass opening your idea to our cultural antecedents? I hope that's the case. Thank you.